Hey guys, it's Coach Carrie, and I just got back from the grocery shopping, and I will typically, on average, spend about $120 a week. Now, we have a family of 5. We do go out to eat about once a week as a family, and the rest of my meals I am making at home. Some of my meals are a lot quicker than others, but my life needs to be simple, okay? And part of our program is, I want you to make this budget friendly so that you realize that you can continue on this journey and not feel like you are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on your groceries on a weekly basis, okay? So I'm just going to give you some tidbits today on different things that you can do to help you with your grocery budget. I do recommend that you shop the weekly sales. If there's certain produce that is on sale this week, I'm going to make my meal around those foods. You might have peppers that are on sale. We'll do stuffed peppers this week. Use those. Use that as kind of your ideas. Also, buying in season is really good. So if you have, strawberries or something that is in season, you will find that the price is actually cheaper. If they are out of season, of course, the produce is not going to be as good, but you're also spending more because they're having to add in those extra shipping costs, where they're sending it from across the country or whatever. So be aware of those. Being a brand snob, do not be a brand snob, okay? Find a generic food. Look at the ingredients. A lot of times your generic foods are even better than your name brand foods. But when the name brands, all you are paying for is that logo, okay? A lot of times it's coming out of the exact same factory, it's the exact same food. You are paying for the label. So do not be a brand snob. A lot of people will try to coupon. I am not a couponer. Basically because of the fact that when I look at coupons, I always see processed foods, and those are not things that I want to put into my body. However, I will do coupons for toiletry items, toilet paper, things like that I know that it's not going to expire. And then I like to buy those in bulk because I know that those are things that I can keep in my house. Buying frozen. So a lot of times your frozen foods will be cheaper than your fresh produce, and it's still, it's exactly from the garden and everything. And so that could be cheaper, and it's going to actually last you a little bit longer. Because a lot of times when you're buying this fresh produce, if it's organic or anything, because there's no pesticides on it, anything like that, the food's going to go bad quicker. Okay, so if you can actually buy your organic foods in smaller quantities or even frozen, you will not have as much waste there. When you are going grocery shopping, I would say for the most part, most grocery stores, avoid the middle of the store because that is where all the junk is. And normally when you go into a grocery store, if you will shop the perimeter, the outside of the grocery store, you will typically go to the produce, to your dairy products, to your fresh meats, and that is the basics, okay? So do the perimeter walk, stay away from the middle part. There might be a few things in there that you can get, but the basis of your grocery shopping should be on the perimeter there. I would also tell you to make a list. Now, I am even guilty of this, of not having a list, because I feel like I shop by habit now. But just the other day, I went and got some oatmeal, and I realized when I got home, I have already 3 other containers of oats. Now, I go through a lot of oats because I use granola and things like that on a weekly basis. I probably don't need 3 containers of oats. So if that is one of your things that you do also, then be aware of that. Go ahead and make a list. You do not need tons and tons of the same thing. You need to use up what you have, okay? And that way you're not spending that extra money on a weekly basis. As far as looking at labels are concerned, if it is something that your great-grandparents would not recognize those ingredients, it's probably a good idea that you shouldn't buy those, okay? The other thing I would tell you is don't go shopping hungry. If you go shopping hungry, you are more likely to just grab anything that you can find, especially if it's a package that you can just rip open and throw it in your mouth real quick as soon as you get in the car. So make sure that you have a meal, have a snack, a good healthy snack before you go grocery shopping, and then you won't have those extra temptations, okay? Grow your own food. Have you ever had a garden? You don't have to have a large garden. So you can have a really small garden, maybe a 10 by 10 or something like that, and it could feed your entire neighborhood. It will produce so much food. and you know exactly what is on that produce. You know what chemicals you have or have not put on it. Get to know your farmers at the farmers market if you like to attend those farmers market, and get to know them. You know, do they put pesticides on their food? Little things like that are things that you need to know for the future of your health and your family's health. I would also say don't buy prepackaged foods, you know, like cheese and salad mixes and deli meats, things like that, because it can really, really shoot up the price. So, you know, on this program, we tell you don't buy shredded cheese because of the amount of cellulose and things like that that's in there. And so I want you to buy the block cheese. But you don't realize that buying that block cheese is actually cheaper than buying the shredded cheese. And all you had to do was put it in your food processor, hit the on button, voila, you've got shredded cheese without the junk, okay? So those are the types of things that I would tell you to do. Your pinto beans, your black beans, your kidney beans, any of your beans there, it's cheaper to buy dried beans versus getting them in the can. The can, you are paying for convenience. And if you need convenience, that's fine. Do the convenience. Just make sure that you look at the label on those. Also, my mama tip, I have 3 kids, leave the kids at home. I am so guilty, which I'm sure a lot of the parents are too, especially when the kids are little. Mama, can I have this? Can I have this? And you're trying to grocery shop and you feel like if I can just put something in their mouth, they won't talk for a second and then I can get my job done. Have you ever been there? So if there is a possibility where you can leave the kids at home, you will have a lot cheaper grocery budget for that week. So make sure that you do that one. My other question for you is, how much were you spending on chips and cookies and soft drinks and things like that? You know, I can remember before we became, you know, the Next 56 Day family, you know, it was all in our house, and that stuff is not cheap, y'all. So remember, you're taking that out of your budget now, okay? And with that, you can actually improve your health, improve your nutrition, and improve your budget at the same time when it comes to grocery shopping. When you are doing your leftovers at night, I would tell you go ahead and make enough food for your dinner to have leftovers for the next day, okay? This is gonna save you a lot of time and money. Be creative with the leftovers. You know, you might have tacos one night and then that next day it's gonna become taco soup. You know, same thing, you could have beef stew, and the next day that could be, or the next week even, it could be stew beef soup or something like that. There's different things that you can do. Meatballs. Meatballs are very versatile. You know, you can just change over your sauces on there, and that can make 3 or 4 different meals. And freeze them. Don't be scared to make meals ahead of time and freeze it, because a lot of times we make bad decisions because of the lack of time. Now, if I have a meal that is already frozen, then all I have to do is get in the freezer and voila, I've got my meal, okay? That saved me time, it saved me money. I'm not having to go out to eat. I'm not having to go through the drive-thru or anything like that because I have something prepared ahead of time. It's almost like my emergency stock. I would also say stay within your budget. You know, how much are you wanting to spend on groceries? Do you need to take cash instead of a credit card when you're going grocery shopping? Because if you have cash, then you know that when you get to that cashier and they say, hey, it's this amount, and you don't have that amount in your pocket, you need to put something up, okay? So that is something that you could do until you get to the point where you know exactly how much money you can spend on your grocery budgets per week. To me, it's just a really good for self-control, if nothing else. Also, I want to tell you to start cooking from scratch. It is so much cheaper to cook from scratch than buying out of a box or a can or something like that, okay? Utilize your crock pot, utilize your Instapot, your Foodies, things like that. Your cheaper meats do really, really well in the crock pot and the Instapot, okay? It just kind of tenderizes everything a little bit better. So when you are doing these frozen foods that are in a box, all that is convenient foods, and unfortunately they have put a lot of chemicals in the majority of those things. So be aware of that. Those are my tips for grocery shopping. You know, it's not something that you learn overnight, and A lot of times people will even go to the store multiple times in a week. So my rule is we go one time a week and we utilize whatever we've got in the pantry, whatever we've got in the refrigerator, and then the next week I will go grocery shopping again. Guess what, kids? If we don't have it, you're gonna have to find something else to eat there. All right, so just a few little tips. That's how we keep our grocery budget down to about $120 a week or so, and with just just changing little things. That's what's going to help you. Okay, y'all have a great week. Make good decisions.